still going after them. Look at that guy charging! Hey!
It's Scottish Lauren as your underwater biologist. We have a turtle! So this is the knife symbol for turtle. So today is not any ordinary day, it is World Ocean Day.
Hello everyone and welcome down to Penguin Beach. I've just had a bug fly into my eye. What a great start to the show. We are down here at the left wing and my name is Jax. I'm going to be a naturalist down here. Behind the camera we have Igor, who has come back from the bush, and Igor has not been here for an entire month, so he has a lot to catch up on. But let's go have a look at our sea conditions for today. So yesterday we had that northwest wind blowing, and I just want you to notice today we also have wind, but it is from the southwest. Have a look how different our ocean looks today. And it is a live show, so please do send us your comments and questions using our channels page or by using the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter. Kids, you know what to do. Send us an email at kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. And so the wind has simply changed marginally from the northwest to the southwest, and you'll see we've got some nice big swell rolling. Our horizon is very lumpy, which shows you that the swell is very big, and we might have some rain today. It looks like the sun has come out especially for us. Let's go have a look at the weather report and see what they say for today's Cape of Storms weather. Yesterday the weatherman also said it was partly cloudy, and Morgan and I laughed, and then I'm sure if you were watching yesterday you know that we got rained out. What they didn't catch was the last bit of Morgan and I actually running in the rain. It was quite the sight, but I'm glad that we got to spend most of yesterday with you, and it is lovely to have a bit of sun out here. I think the penguins have started, you can see all the penguins have just started cleaning themselves as the sun has come out. And we always talk about penguins and weather. You guys ask us a lot about how they react to different conditions, and I think they're fine with the rain. I think they're fine getting wet, but they certainly do love the sun coming out. Haley, I'm so glad that you're excited. We're excited too. I think Igor's very excited. He's missed so much down here at Penguin Beach. And I think if you guys watch every day, which so many of you do, which we really do appreciate, you don't notice how much changes. But the last time Igor was here, I don't think we had a single chick. Did you have any chicks, Igor?
Few and far between, but the parents in the Shire was definitely still on the eggs.
So the last time Igor was here, he was saying the eggs in the Shire were still eggs. They're not Frodo and Flippy. We saw gannets on the show while you were away. We have the crazy eights, which you got to see earlier. We did have the crazy eights about, so we might actually go and have a look and see if they are over in hideaway or if they've already head home. But we can show you an Egyptian goose in the meanwhile as we look for them. So Igor didn't get to see the crazy eights when they were babies. He's only seeing the very large version. He actually thought they were the browns when he arrived today. So I just see one adult Egyptian goose. But so much changes in a month in nature. And when you haven't been somewhere for a while, you do really get out of it.
See the babies just popping their head up there.
The Safari Guide of the Year 2022 is approaching us rapidly. This year, we'll be heading to Bushwise Field Guides at the Southern African Wildlife College from the 27th June till the 2nd of July. We will soon meet all our contestants who are vying for the prize of being the very best of the best, and the judges who will put them through their paces. Join me, Steve Falconbridge, as we dream it, guide it, win it.
Lani, happy Sunday to you too. The weather is actually quite fantastic. I think we might be able to do a full show without rain, which is always exciting. And we were looking for the crazy eights, which is why you are looking at kelp. But we did have a touch of kelp wash up last night. It was super stormy here in Betty's Bay. Oh, and we have another rainbow. It's not a good rainbow. It's like a touch of a rainbow. We'll see if we might be able to get it on the show for you. It's just above the whaling station, a very dramatic scene. So there's that little tower that was used when the whalers would wait to see if they were bringing whales back, because they had to get the the furnace and all of the equipment ready. And it is a super faint rainbow today. But the Cape is really wonderful for rainbows in winter. We're lucky to see lots of them. And I do love a rainbow over the ocean. So we'll just have a look at those waves coming in. And so today's the second day of the storm, and typically the storms can last 5 days, sometimes they last a week. And then what will happen is that the wind will turn, and then you'll have these beautiful days, and then you'll have storm again. So if the wind is changing direction, you'll always have days that are almost windless. You don't often go from a pumping northwester to a pumping southeaster. You usually have what we call lulls in the wind. And even now, this is a slight lull because the wind has changed direction. So it's not roaring like it was this morning. And I think we're going to go have a look at our penguins on the left wing now. They've all woken up and they all seem to be busy. And there's actually two of them who are looking at a cattle egret, a little egret, wow.
If you would like to be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration in Kenya live on WildEarth, then we have some great news for you. There are a few places left to join our expeditions in August and September this year. You'll be staying in an exclusive tented camp with ensuite bedrooms nestled in the riverine woodlands of the Talek River. Head over to our website to book your bucket list experience today. WildEarth Expeditions. Travel with purpose.
If you are a WildEarth explorer, we have exciting news for you.
The winner of this month's prize giveaway will win a hamper full of Explorer merchandise.
Like this fantastic t-shirt that comes in plenty of great colors, a very useful tote bag, or even a cap.
for those in the southern hemisphere that's heading into winter, a sweatshirt to keep you warm.
Head over to the WildEarth Explorers page. Sign up to be a WildEarth Explorer and you could win all of these goodies.
WildEarth, it's in your name.
Thanks, RDJ. It's good to be back.
So if you can hear him, Igor saying thank you. He's somewhat happy to be back. He says he already misses the bush. And that is the one thing about South Africa that's a bit tough, is that the bush and the cold ocean, which is my personal favorite ocean, is very far away. And so if you live in Cape Town, it's quite hard to actually get to the bush. And so you kind of got to choose one or the other. If you live on the east coast of South Africa, you've got the warm tropical beaches, and then you do have bush there as well. But it's not quite the same as the low-veld bush, which is my personal favorite type of bush, and it's also not my favorite type of sea. But South Africa is incredible in that we have so many different biomes, we have so many different types of sort of terrain and vegetation. I still think that this is my absolute favorite down here. We're just taking in the scene of this little egret who is cleaning itself. That's a good question. I think you're talking about our African penguins. So yes, because ideally what every adult penguin wants to give its baby is sardine and anchovies, because they have a really high, they're a high energy food source. So sometimes if the food is really bad, then the penguin parents will give their chicks things like squid, but then it takes the chicks a lot longer to grow and develop. So they eat exactly the same thing. The parents, what they do, which is quite incredible, is they just, something in their stomach will slow down the enzymes that sort of degrade the fish, which will then allow them to bring fish home for the parents. Looks like we might have some penguin politics happening. So there's one penguin who's trying to pass another who's laying down. We'll just see. But I do have to tell you, I was speaking to Gavin, the penguin whisperer here, and he says the fishing has been really good for the penguins. He's having a really good year for our chicks. So I think that's fantastic news for us. And we were with Flippy and Frodo yesterday. Today they were outside their nest because of the rain. So I think it's lovely that we can actually see that development, and we're seeing these beautiful, healthy babies in the colony. Oh, look, there's a fight. The penguin was trying to pick a fight with the egret. Let's see. This penguin is rude. Look at this. That penguin had absolutely no reason to pick a fight. We'll see if it follows the egret or if it'll leave it alone.
All things bright and beautiful. All creatures great and small. All things wise and wonderful. WildEarth will see it all. Each little flower that opens. Each river that does flow. Join us to celebrate World Environment Day for a very special safari show. We want to hear from our Wild Earth kids this World Environment Day. You are the future protectors of our planet, and we want to help you understand what needs to be preserved.
We saw a termite mound. We got to see a lot of unique animals. Some trees are male and female. That's pretty cool, right?
A whole lot of different creatures.
It was amazing that we could ask questions.
Kids, send in your questions for our special World Environment Day safari on June the 5th.
It was so cool!
Haley, I don't believe so for a second, because I think penguins think that they're the boss. Other birds, I think the one bird that is a problem for penguins, I've never seen the interpersonal behavior, so I speak on correction, but I know that pelicans can often displace penguins. And I think gannets actually have also displaced penguins at Malkas Island. And so I've never seen those two birds interact, but generally the penguins bully everybody else. But that little egret that we were watching is a little egret with a big heart, because it stood up to the penguin. It actually pecked back. And I've never known egrets to be an aggressive bird species. Some birds are aggressive, other birds are quite relaxed. So that was really cool to see. And Igor has decided that he wants to go on his own mission, so let's wait to see, where are you taking us?
Family that I haven't seen in a while.
So Igor's found his friends. And he's actually smiling as he's watching them, which is nice to see. So we have a beautiful scene there. We've got 2 African black oyster catchers. And do you think that this is...
I don't think this is Oliver and Olivia.
He doesn't think it's Oliver and Olivia, but he's still excited to see our oyster catchers. And that's a beautiful frame there. You can see we've got beautiful lichen on the rocks here. And I am going to be chatting about lichen on the 5th of June. I'm not going to talk about it today because the 5th of June is World Environmental Day. And so we've got some awesome stuff planned. We've got penguin politics down beneath us. The African black oyster catcher is definitely synonymous with the coast. You're never going to find those birds in the bushveld.
Well, you do get birds there that very much remind me of oyster catchers.
What reminds you of the oyster catchers?
African jacanas.
Okay, so Igor was saying that he thinks the jacanas are very much like oyster catchers.
Isn't their behavior?
In what way? So he says the behavior is similar.
They just look very similar. They look like oyster catchers painted in a different color. The way that they wade around in the weeds and pick little things out the water, the foraging, the way they strut around.
Okay. So Igor's made an interesting observation. I would disagree with Igor just on the basis of the jacanas are on the lily pads. And I don't know, I feel like that, to me, I can't reconcile that with the rocks because the rocks are so stable. But it's interesting because people, you know, we often get questions from you as viewers about what birds are similar. So that's a really cool observation to make.
So the one that I couldn't argue with is the pied wagtail that we get there.
Couldn't argue with the pied wagtail.
Well, the similarity between the Cape wagtail here and the pied wagtail, the behavior is almost exactly the same. The pied wagtail is just painted in a different color.
I would agree. Do you want to see if we can find a wagtail to show our viewers? And maybe we can set the safari team on a mission to find us a pied wagtail on their show. So the Cape wagtail is a lot smaller than the pied wagtail that they get up on safari. Igor, what did you miss the most about the beach? Nature Hugger is very curious. Let me guess. I'm going to say Igor missed being in the water. That would be my first guess.
Oh, okay. We're talking wider than just being on Penguin Beach, looking at the penguins, or filming the show.
I think what you missed from the beach.
Yeah, I'd have to say definitely being in the water, hey? Definitely.
So
On the show, I think I'd missed our little egrets.
The little egret?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's one of my favorite characters, yeah.
So that's really sweet. Igor has gone for the underdog, the little egret, who, in fairness, we don't often give enough attention to. I think we're looking for that little wagtail. So this is the Cape wagtail, which actually comes throughout the country. It just has the name Cape wagtail because when people first arrived here, they arrived in the Cape. But I would say that the pied wagtail, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Igor, is the pied wagtail not more closely associated with water? Because the place I remember seeing it the most is on low water bridges in the bush. Am I right, or?
Possibly, I'm not sure.
It's always nice to chat, and I'm sure you've seen it before when Cedric's been on the show, because nature is all interconnected, and so you can find similarities in any ecosystem, and often animals who transcend the different ones. So I think the Cape wagtail is having a great time today because the kelp is all wet, and it's quite cool today, so all of the beach hoppers and the little sand lice are really active. And so they really enjoy feasting on them. Willow, so Cape wagtails, I can't speak today. Sorry. Cape wagtails, it's not even a tongue twister, like to nest in protected areas. So they build little nests. So they would nest in things like trees and bushes. They might nest in people's homes. They definitely don't nest on the ground here. I've never seen a wagtail nest on the ground. And to be honest, I've actually not seen a wagtail nest. I think that they conceal their nests quite carefully because when their chicks are born, their chicks are naked and afraid. They can't really do very much. And so I do think that they like to make sure their nests are not easily accessible to predators. But thank you very much for that question. We're lucky to get to see lots of other baby birds on the show, but I don't think we'll ever get to show you a baby wagtail, purely because their nests are quite tricky to find. I'm just looking at this wagtail now. It's reminding me of that story from Friday the 13th, from the Sand People, where they believe that they have given the wagtail that necklace around the neck. So you're asking about the blue colors on the kelp, if it's due to fungus. So you've actually jumped the gun because I want to talk about kelp today. So thank you for that question. Igor, I want you to zoom in on, do you see the kelp there where you can see a lot of the encrusting algae? So Igor's going to go and find me some encrusting algae. So that different coloration is it's actually limpets doing a bad job of looking after their algae stipe. Because what's happening there is that encrusting algae has grown on that kelp, and that has made the kelp its home. So it's not really a fungus or a mold. It's something that is a very big part of the ecosystem underwater, where the encrusting algae is on the rocks. We've also shown that on one of our shows that I did with Flippy about a month ago. And typically what would happen is that every kelp stipe would have a little limpet that walks up and down the stipe, and it's supposed to make sure that nothing settles on the stipe of the kelp and nothing lives there. But if a kelp stipe does not have a limpet, then the algae might start to take over the stipe. And then those stipes can also be covered in things like epiphytes. And that brings me to our show and shell today, actually. We've got quite a bit of show and shell because I was on the beach, and a really good time to beachcomb is after a storm, because the storm just brings everything up. It washes everything up. And so I'm glad we showed you some encrusting algae because I wasn't able to actually pick some of that up. But I was able to pick up a lot of other cool stuff. And I'm just going to take my scarf off before I do this for you. It's getting nice and warm here. Okay. So, very exciting because today we're going to talk a lot about kelp. I've managed to find lots that is washed up. So this is a baby kelp plant that I found, and we'll come back to him in a moment. I just think he's super cute. But what I was mentioning is that when limpets don't do their jobs, what happens is that the kelp develops loads of these epiphytes. It does feel a little bit like a beard. And these epiphytes cause a lot of drag on the kelp and give the kelp a really hard time. So it's not ideal for kelp to be covered in epiphytes like these ones. And it is actually the job of the kelp limpet to eat the epiphytes off of the kelp. So kelp limpets don't actually eat the kelp itself. What they eat is the epiphytes. So these funny little plants, I guess you could say, that are growing on the kelp. So that is the first part of our show and shell. It's really cool to actually be able to show it to you. And when I did pick this up, weirdly enough, there was a kelp limpet on it. It's subsequently fallen off, because usually as soon as the kelp becomes detached, the kelp limpet realizes it's not going to have a home anymore, and so it'll jump off the kelp and find some more kelp. Down.
Find a way into the kill to eat, get their fill in there as well. But they're also going to be told off. See, lions are not great at sharing their food. Okay, guys. Let me just taking frustration out on the other lion, but you see, it was interesting.
The Safari Guide of the Year 2022 is approaching us rapidly. This year, we'll be heading to bushwise field guides at the Southern African Wildlife College from the 27th June till the 2nd of July. We will soon meet all our contestants who are vying for the prize of being the very best of the best, and the judges who will put them through their paces. Join me, Steve Falconbridge, as we dream it, guide it, win it.
So we're just having a look at these baby mussels inside the kelp holdfast. So little animals will climb into the holdfast and establish themselves there because it's a safe place from predators. So you'll have your baby mussels go and live inside the holdfast and then grow very large. And very cool, our last part of show and shell today is I found a kelp plant that actually attached its holdfast to another kelp plant and managed to grow quite large. And so on this, we can actually really see how a holdfast works, and it's extremely it's a complex system. It's incredible to me. It almost looks like it's glued. It looks like when you're a kid and you take super glue and you glue something together really badly and you've got all of these horrible glue marks. So it's a super complex system where it attaches to something, which is usually a rock, and then the kelp plant will start to grow. So I just thought that that was such an amazing thing. And you can see it's really held on quite hard. So Sina, kelp is actually a type of algae, so it falls within the algae family. Kelp is just it's exactly that, it's a type of algae that we have in the ocean. So I believe it's one of the brown algae. So you get red algae, you get green algae, and then you get the brown algae. And just to finish off this holdfast, you can actually see where the other kelp stipe has broken. This is where it would fuse to the stipe. So you're seeing the very bottom of a kelp plant and how it holds onto rocks. So it's not roots, it doesn't dig in, but it holds on and it cements itself onto the rock, which I think is really incredible. And very unusual to find this. So this kelp piece must have been really stuck between two rocks so that this plant was able to grow so large. And I'll just put it down there, and Igor can give you a couple more views of it. Kelp is actually, in fact, it's not a plant. We talk about it like it's a plant. It is part of the algae family. And in fact, all of your seaweeds are algae. So some are brown, some are green, and then you get the brown algae. But kelp is the largest, and this particular species, which is sea bamboo, is actually the largest algae that we would have in South Africa, the largest kelp plant or seaweed that we have around. So I hope you enjoyed seeing that. I thought it was really fascinating when I picked it up. But I think the crazy eights are on the move. I think we might go and have a look and see what they are doing. So they are trying to navigate the kelp. We just had a couple of penguins really run into the water behind the crazy eights. So all of this kelp that you see where the crazy eights are walking were once attached to the rocks via that holdfast that we got to see so nicely now. And when it is here, it provides the perfect breeding ground for kelp flies and sea slaters and beach hoppers. It's a really great thing to eat when you are a baby gosling looking to grow up. So, Millie, kelp forests do photosynthesize, so they would actually provide oxygen. Most of the oxygen in the ocean is actually provided by a lot smaller plants, so it's called phytoplankton, which is a fancy way to say tiny little plants in the ocean, but kelp forests certainly would provide oxygen, or they would undergo the process of photosynthesis. Sorry, I really can't speak today. And so I guess they would help oxygenate the ocean. And just having a close look at the crazy eights now. They all look like they are feasting after their nap. So these chicks are, I think, just about a month old now. We got to see them around Earth Day for the first time. And they will stay with their parents for 3 to 5 months. You can see the parents are already not quite as worried about the chicks. They are happy to look away from them. They're happy to leave them for small stints.
If you would like to be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration in Kenya live on WildEarth, then we have some great news for you. There are a few places left to join our expeditions in August and September this year. You'll be staying in an exclusive tented camp with ensuite bedrooms nestled in the riverine woodlands of the Talek River. Head over to our website to book your bucket list experience today. WildEarth Expeditions. Travel with purpose.
This morning we were driving and suddenly we heard a lot of commotion. I think the wild dogs might have caught an impala then, or the leopard might have caught the impala, and as it was dragging it, the wild dog saw it, started chasing the leopard up into the tree, and then the hyenas came to steal it. But what an incredible sighting.
So it is amazing to watch how animal parents slowly start to let go. Okay, that's we're getting some really fascinating questions today. Thank you, guys. So the rocks, birds like to sit on rocks. Most of your seabirds like to sit in areas where they feel that they aren't very easily accessible to people. And so birds like cormorants and penguins love to sit on rocky outcrops. And so when they first came here, it was desolate enough because of the rocks that they felt that they could actually settle without being disturbed. So we do see penguins on the beach as well, and we do have them on the beach here next to us. But the rocks provide a safe place for a lot of your seabirds, so your cormorants, your cattle egrets, your little egrets, your African black oyster catchers, to actually to sit, to forage. And in the ocean, the rock also creates pools. So on a sandy beach, it's much harder for these birds to forage because they don't really have rock pools. There's not very much life. On a sandy bottom, your life is very different to where you have rock pools and rocky areas. And so without the rocks, you're less likely to have huge amounts of oyster catchers unless you have mussel beds below. And so it provides a place for the birds to sit and relax. For birds like your kelp gulls and your Egyptian geese, it's quite nice for them to sit high above the scene and survey what's going on. It also provides a place for them to actually feed in the water. It provides nice sheltered areas for birds to take baths in the ocean. A lot of the birds are happy to bath out in an open ocean, but we do see at Jacuzzi and here in all of our spots that the penguins do also really enjoy taking a nice bath when they are in a sheltered rock pool. So that might sound very superficial, but it's the ideal conditions that they need to feel comfortable to settle. At Boulders Beach, you've also got lots of rocks, lots of boulders, which is one of the other land colonies in South Africa. And I also believe that in De Hoop Nature Reserve, where they are currently trying to establish a new penguin colony, I think that's also a rocky colony, to my knowledge. Igor, I want us to go to the deep sea now because there's lots of bird activity. So we're going to take a break from our shoreline and head on over into the deep because we have lots of terns feeding. I think there are some cormorants feeding too. And today is a very good day to have a look up for some pelagic seabirds. So if we're able to show you those terns, we might have a close look.
In that tree are two carcasses. There's a duiker carcass and a waterbuck. Well, it's not as graceful as... He's a bit hesitant because, well, climbing a tree is not the easiest, but he will get up there eventually. So let's see, there he goes. And look at the power in that. That is a massive 500-pound cat that has just climbed a marula tree and is up in there. How cool is this? I don't know how he's going to do it, but let's see.
If you are a WildEarth explorer, we have exciting news for you.
The winner of this month's prize giveaway will win a hamper full of Explorer merchandise.
Like this fantastic t-shirt that comes in plenty of great colors, a very useful tote bag, or even a cap.
For those in the southern hemisphere that's heading into winter, a sweatshirt to keep you warm.
Head over to the WildEarth Explorers page. Sign up to be a WildEarth Explorer and you could win all of these goodies.
WildEarth, it's in your nature.
So we're looking at the deep sea, and we've got lots of birds who are flocking you came down to Penguin Beach and you got to hear those frogs in the grass. And it is true, we do have frogs in the grass behind us, and we have spoken about it. We cannot show you these frogs, unfortunately, because they are hiding, although they do exist. And there's also been a debate between Flippy and Byron as to which frogs these are. So I am by no means an amphibian expert. I think Flippy was saying, Byron was saying he thinks it's clicking stream frogs. I think that was Byron's synopsis. And I think that Flippy was saying that he thinks it's kayakos. I might be saying that very wrong. But I actually, I would like to speak to both Flippy and Byron and get a consensus on what frogs we have here. It is a very beautiful noise. I enjoy hearing them clicking. I'm not sure if you could hear it behind me so well. What I might do is I might take a couple of steps back from the roar of the ocean and you might be able to pick it up. So I am on the floor now. So I'm trying to get low so that you can hear these frogs. So I'm just going to keep quiet for a moment, and Igor thinks this is very funny. I can't see these frogs, and the people walking past us think we are very funny. But what we will try to do for you Penguin Beaches, we are going to try and find out what frogs these are, and we will let you know. I'm going to send Igor back to the ocean. We've got some people who would like to walk past, and they've been very kind to wait for us now. But I do hope that you enjoyed the sound of that. Igor has just pulled his tongue at me. He thought that that was a fantastic thing to be able to film. But sometimes you do have to get low, and if you are watching wildlife, I highly recommend that actually, especially if you are a photographer. And Jarrett, our wonderful director, is very proud of me, so at least that makes me happy.
All things bright and beautiful, all creatures great and small, all things wise and wonderful. WildEarth will see it all. Each little flower that opens, each river that does flow. Join us to celebrate World Environment Day for a very special safari show.
The Safari Guide of the Year 2022 is approaching us rapidly. This year, we'll be heading to Bushwise Field Guides at the Southern African Wildlife College from the 27th June till the 2nd of July. We will soon meet all our contestants who are vying for the prize of being the very best of the best, and the judges who will put them through their paces. Join me, Steve Falconbridge, as we dream it, guide it, win it.
Lisa, I do too. I love the way that it layers out. And then here, I love the color of the mountains as well, because you'll have the color of the sea where you've got the different shades of blue. And then the mountains here often look really purple, and then you've got the white clouds. And I find the color so calming and so relaxing. Now, I do tend to find that no matter how bad your day is, I'll always go sit by the sea if I'm not feeling so great, and I'll either sit or I'll walk, and I find it really hard to not feel better once I've looked at the sea. And I think if you're lucky enough to have access to it and you have a bad day, just try that. Just try and sit by the sea, or even I think just watching Penguin Beach or watching any sort of clips with the ocean in it. I find that for me it makes me feel a lot happier, a lot more centered. There have actually been some really interesting studies, and there's a really cool book called Blue Mind, where there's a marine biologist and a neuroscientist who actually talk about the impacts of the ocean on our mental health, and not only the ocean but water in general. So even if you have a fish tank in your house, something as small as that can also make a huge difference in how you're feeling. There's something about water, I think, that is so calming. We've got some penguins who are waddling on, so I think we might take a break from the beauty of the ocean and watch the main characters down here at Penguin Beach. I found that penguins tend to have very different struts depending on what they want to do. This penguin looked a bit aggressive because he's got his flippers quite wide as he walks. And then when penguins put their heads down and they've got that little hunchback, I find that they look like they're trying to do something, they're on a mission. But he looks like he just wants everybody out of his way. Circle, I haven't heard from you in a while, and I'm so glad to hear your name popping up. The criteria, so the people who decide what's endangered and what's not is the IUCN, which is the International Union for the Conservation of Species. And so what they would do is they would benchmark the number of penguins that we have against historical levels. And if they reached what was considered a healthy population historically, then they would no longer be endangered. So I can't think of the term. There's an amazing TED talk about this. It's benchmarking, essentially. It's knowing what the original numbers of a species were, and then being able to see where a species sits with regards to that. And that is something that I think with penguins we're quite aware of. We know that there were millions of penguins off the coast of South Africa because the decline that we've had, the decline has been in the last 100 years, and it's been mostly because of us. So we know that there should actually, in theory, be millions of penguins off the islands of South Africa. If I think now, we've got so few breeding pairs. I think it's something awful. I think it's something like 11,000 breeding pairs left. I think we'd have to get to a few 100,000 breeding pairs even for them to consider it. But what I'm going to do, Arctic Circle, I'm actually going to go have a look, because I think the IUCN has it on their website where they've got the criteria by which they assess it, because it's also, I think every species is assessed very differently, and I think it's also sometimes area specific. There are no subspecies of penguins, so that wouldn't really come into account here. But that's a very good question, as always. And I do love your questions. So Arctic Circle, what I'll do is I'm going to go and have a look at the IUCN assessments and see if I can actually get an idea of what they do. And I'll look at the benchmark numbers, and I'll come back to you tomorrow and let you know a little bit more about that. Thank you for that very clever question. So IUCN is the body that assesses, and then CITES is the body that actually enforces trade of endangered animals. So they sort of regulate the endangered animal stuff.
If you would like to be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration in Kenya live on WildEarth, then we have some great news for you. There are a few places left to join our expeditions in August and September this year. You'll be staying in an exclusive tented camp with ensuite bedrooms nestled in the riverine woodlands of the Talek River. Head over to our website to book your bucket list experience today. WildEarth Expeditions. Travel with purpose. We want to hear from our Wild Earth kids this World Environment Day. You are the future protectors of our planet, and we want to help you understand what needs to be preserved.
We saw a termite mound. We got to see a lot of unique animals. Some trees are male and female. That's pretty cool, right?
A whole lot of different creatures.
It was amazing that we could ask questions.
Kids, send in your questions for our special World Environment Day safari on June the 5th.
It was so cool!
So we just had two penguins really squaring off with each other. A fight seems to have stopped. The fight is over now. So see the water that these penguins are. Oh, this penguin, he's going down the rapids. Look. He's trying to fight them. He's realized that resistance is not helpful. Look, they're all going down the rapids. I've actually never seen a rapid here. This is amazing. This penguin is so relaxed about it. He's happy to be dragged to the next pool. Sorry, I've never actually seen a rapid form here. It's really interesting to watch how they let themselves be pulled out. And that little pull is just stopped. This one penguin just wants to clean itself. It is. I think some of the penguins actually enjoy these sort of slides. I've seen it at Jacuzzi before where I think they enjoy being pulled out. The penguin that we're looking at now just wanted to clean itself, so he wasn't that thrilled about being pulled from pool to pool. But penguins do like to have fun. I think sometimes they will surf the waves. Oh, we've got a fight happening again. That penguin just slapped the other penguin with his flipper in the face on TV. And now they've just stopped fighting. I think we've seen some very interesting things today. I don't think I've ever seen a penguin slap another penguin's face before. That was something different. Beamer Smith, very good question. I've never seen them do it. So I've never seen a penguin actually sitting and sharpening its beak. They do use their beak to leverage themselves against rocks. So we've seen that before. Actually, I had a show with Igor months ago now, where we saw the penguin do it on show. So what they'll do is they'll sort of push their beak down into a rock to help themselves get a bit of lift. But I think that beak just stays sharp for life. I don't think that wears down like our teeth would. So I think for their entire lifespan, they just managed to retain an extremely sharp beak. I'm going to go quiet for a little bit because I want you guys to listen to the chicks below us who are very hungry. As I said that, they decided that they would stop squealing. But their parent is just outside of the nest now.
See, the hyenas are far more tolerant of vultures than a lion or leopard would be. Occasionally a hyena will bite sort of a couple of tail feathers out of the back of a vulture, but I've never actually seen them, even once they've caught one, actually kill it. Oh, there we go, nearly got him.
Hyena and hippo walking side by side, terror etched on the expression of little hippo. Look at this last mad dash, hyena running along beside it. Baby hippo, jaws gaping, it's gonna make it. It's gonna make it. It did it. The baby hippo, against all odds,
The chick is out the nest. There's 2 chicks out the nest. I can't actually see them because if I move then I will scare them. But that's really cool. I did get a quick glimpse at the little chick, and it's actually not so little. That chick is really nice and big. So scientists have a way that they sort of decide how big a chick is, and where I worked it was C1, C2, C3. So C1, baby, C2, sort of intermediate, and C3 is getting ready to fledge. And this is a C2 on its way to becoming a C3, the one whose head I can see. Are they the same size, Igor?
Either of them.
So we can't pick up on them on camera yet. Sinak, it is always wonderful to have you with us and wonderful to have all of your amazing questions. We've had a lot of fun. We've had a very diverse show today. And it looks like the fun is set to continue out on safari. Tess is going to go see how the hyenas are doing. And she wants to go check on Indabella's newborn cub. And then Chris, every time I hear about Chris, Chris is looking for elephants. So I think that must be his favorite. So he's going to look for the elephants from a nice koppie. And Cedric is also after his favorites. He's going for spots. And he'd like to catch up with Talamba and the cups. So it looks like everybody's got very distinct and big plans for safari today. And I'm here with you until Wednesday. Igor is here all week. So we're excited to bring you lots more fun in the days to come. We've got lots of penguins who are now heading back. They know the show's over. They are done being here. They're happy to head back to their nests now. Lots of penguins behind us too. So we're just going to watch these penguins slowly make their way back. And then on behalf of Igor and myself, thank you so much for spending your Sunday afternoon with us. We really hope that you've had the most wonderful time. I think we've had a really diverse and interesting show. I hope that you enjoyed seeing those kelp holdfasts, and we will be back with you again, same time, same place tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Have a lovely week ahead, and we will see you again very soon. But for now, let's spend those last couple of moments looking at our little African penguins.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.